Last month, I got a call that still sits heavy with me. One of my clients had been rushed to the hospital with a severe infection. She was 83 years old. When I arrived at the hospital, her daughter was there, bewildered and exhausted. She kept saying the same thing over and over. I don't understand. She's always been so clean, so particular about herself. And I believed her. This woman had always taken pride in her appearance, in her home, in taking care of herself. But what her daughter didn't know, what I discovered when I gently asked about her daily routine, was that over the past year, things had quietly changed. Bending had become difficult. Reaching had become painful. Her balance wasn't what it used to be, so she'd adapted. She simplified her routine. She started skipping certain areas, not because she didn't care, but because her body had changed and she didn't want to admit it. She didn't want to ask for help with something that seemed so basic, so personal. She was embarrassed, and that silence, that quiet skipping of what seemed like small things, led to an infection serious enough to land her in the hospital. I'm going to call her Margaret, though that's not her real name. And Margaret's story is not unique. In my 15 years of caregiving, I have watched infections start in the most unexpected places. Infections that sent otherwise healthy seniors to the hospital. Infections that led to complications no one saw coming. And here's what breaks my heart every single time. Most of them were completely preventable. They started because of 5 areas of the body that get overlooked in daily hygiene. Areas that seem so simple, so obvious that families assume they're being handled. But I was there. I saw what was missed, and I need to share this with you. If you're watching this and you've started cutting corners in your hygiene routine because it's harder now, because bending takes more effort, because reaching certain areas has become painful, because you're just so tired by the end of the day, I want you to know something. You are not alone, and you are not failing. Your body has changed. That's not weakness, that's life. But those changes don't mean those areas of your body need less attention. They often mean they need more. What I'm going to share with you today isn't complicated. It's not expensive. It doesn't require special equipment or medical knowledge. But I have watched these 5 simple practices prevent months of suffering. I have watched them keep seniors out of the hospital. I have watched them preserve independence and dignity and quality of life. This video isn't about blame. It's not about shame. It's about awareness. It's about giving you information that I wish every family had before they get that phone call, before they sit in a hospital room wondering what they missed. I've been that person in the room too many times. I've held too many hands. I've heard too many regrets, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of watching preventable suffering happen because we're too uncomfortable to talk about basic hygiene. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the 5 areas of your body that need daily attention. Areas that might seem obvious but get overlooked more often than you'd think. And I'm going to tell you exactly why they matter, what happens when they're neglected, and how to take care of them properly, even when your body has changed and reaching them has become harder. Because here's what I've learned after 15 years of this work. Your body is still worth caring for. You are still worth caring for. And a few extra minutes of attention each day can make the difference between health and hospitalization, between independence and decline, between quality of life and just getting by. Let's start with the areas most people forget. The first area I need to talk to you about is your feet, especially between your toes. I know they seem far away. I know bending down to reach them takes effort. I know that after a certain age, your feet can feel like they belong to someone else's body. But here's what I've learned. Your feet are telling you things. And when you stop paying attention to them, complications can start that affect your entire body. I cared for a man I'll call James. He was 74, diabetic, but managing it well. One day I noticed he was favoring his left foot slightly. When I asked him about it, he brushed it off, said it was nothing. But I asked if I could take a look, and when I did, I found a small fungal infection between his 3rd and 4th toe. It seemed minor. A little redness, some peeling skin. He said it had been there for a few weeks, but he hadn't thought much of it. Within 10 days, that minor infection had spread. His foot became swollen. The skin broke down. He ended up in the hospital with cellulitis. What started as something he could barely see became something that threatened his mobility, his independence, his health. Your feet carry you through life. They deserve daily attention. Between the toes especially, that's where moisture gets trapped, where fungal infections love to grow, where small problems hide until they become big ones. If you have diabetes, this becomes even more critical. But even if you don't, your feet need you to notice them, to wash them, to dry them thoroughly, to look at them and see what's changing. Now, the second area I need to talk to you about is one that makes people uncomfortable. But I'm going to talk about it with you the way I'd talk about it with my own grandmother, directly, because your health matters more than our discomfort. I'm talking about the groin and perineal area. This is where urinary tract infections begin. This is where skin breakdown happens. This is where dignity and health intersect in ways that people don't want to discuss, but absolutely need to. Remember Margaret, who I told you about in the beginning? The woman who ended up hospitalized with a severe UTI? When we established a proper daily hygiene routine for her, and I mean proper, thorough washing of this area every single day, her recurring infections stopped. Completely. Within 3 months, she went from having a UTI every few weeks to having none. Her daughter cried when she realized how simple the solution had been. How much suffering could have been prevented if someone had just talked to Margaret about this directly, without shame, before it became a crisis. This area needs gentle but thorough daily washing. It needs to be dried completely. If you've been cutting corners here because it's hard to reach, because your balance isn't what it used to be, because bending in the shower makes you feel unsteady, I understand. But I need you to know that skipping this area is not a harmless shortcut. It's a risk. And there are ways to do this safely, with tools and techniques that can help. I'm going to share those with you soon. But first, you need to know why it matters. The third area is anywhere you have skin touching skin. Under your breasts, under your belly, in the creases of your thighs, anywhere that moisture can get trapped and stay trapped. I have watched small rashes in these areas become infections. I have watched infections become hospital stays. And almost every time, the person says the same thing. I didn't think it was a big deal. It was just a little irritation. But here's what happens in those warm, moist folds of skin. Bacteria grows, fungus grows, the skin breaks down. What starts as a mild discomfort becomes painful. Then it becomes inflamed. Then it becomes infected. And suddenly you're dealing with something that requires medical intervention, antibiotics, sometimes even wound care. All because an area that seemed fine was actually not getting the daily attention it needed. I want to tell you about Robert. I mentioned him briefly before. He was 76 when I started caring for him. He had arthritis in his hands, in his knees, in his back. Bending was hard. Reaching was painful. But Robert did something that Margaret initially didn't do. He asked for help. He told his son, "I need a shower chair. And I need one of those long-handled sponges." His son got them for him the next day. And with those two simple tools, Robert was able to maintain thorough daily hygiene. He washed his feet, he washed his groin area, he washed under his skin folds, every single day. And in the 3 years I cared for him, he never had a single infection. Not one. The difference between Margaret and Robert wasn't genetics. It wasn't luck. It was adaptation. Robert recognized that his body had changed and he needed different tools to care for it properly. Margaret tried to keep doing things the way she'd always done them, and when that became too hard, she started skipping. Both responses make complete sense, but only one of them protected her health. These aren't pleasant topics, I know that, but I've held hands through the consequences of avoiding them. I've watched suffering that didn't need to happen, so we're going to talk about them. And then I'm going to show you exactly how to address them, even when your body has changed and reaching these areas has become harder. Because there are solutions, and you deserve to know what they are. The fourth area I need to talk to you about is your armpits. And I know that might sound obvious. Of course, you wash your armpits. But I want you to think about this area differently than you might have before. This isn't just about preventing odor. This is about staying connected to your own body, about noticing changes early, about giving yourself the gift of awareness. Your armpits contain lymph nodes, and those lymph nodes are part of your body's immune system, part of how your body fights infection and disease. When you wash your armpits daily, really wash them with attention, you're also checking them. You're noticing if there's any tenderness, any swelling, any lumps that weren't there before. I've watched seniors catch their own health changes early because this daily practice kept them connected to their bodies. They noticed something that needed medical attention before it became a crisis. That daily touch, that daily awareness, saved them time, saved them suffering, maybe saved their lives. The fifth area is one that surprises people, behind and inside your ears. As we age, earwax builds up differently. It becomes drier, harder to clear naturally, and when it builds up, it can cause problems that seem completely unrelated. Balance issues, hearing loss that seems sudden but has actually been gradual, even infections that start so quietly you don't notice until they've become painful. I want to share something tender with you. There was a woman I cared for. I'll call her Dorothy. She was 81, and one day, as part of her routine care, I gently cleaned behind and inside her ears. It was such a simple thing. Just warm water, a soft cloth, careful attention to an area she couldn't easily see or reach anymore. When I finished, she had tears in her eyes. I asked her if I'd hurt her, and she shook her head. She said, "No one's done that for me since I was a little girl, since my mother took care of me." It wasn't about the ear cleaning. It was about being cared for with such tenderness, about someone paying attention to the small things that make you feel human, feel valued, feel seen. Now, I need to tell you something I've noticed over and over in my 15 years of doing this work. It's not that seniors don't know these areas need attention. It's not that you've forgotten how to take care of yourself. It's that reaching them has become harder. Bending has become more difficult. Balance has become shakier. Lifting your arms above your head for more than a few seconds makes your shoulders ache, and you didn't want to admit it. Even to yourself, the barriers grew slowly, so slowly that you adapted without even realizing you were adapting. You started washing a little less thoroughly, skipping areas that were hard to reach, telling yourself it was fine, it didn't matter that much. Because admitting it mattered meant admitting you needed help. And admitting you needed help with something as basic as washing yourself felt like giving up, felt like becoming a burden, felt like losing the last pieces of your independence. I understand that feeling. I've seen it in the eyes of almost every person I've cared for. That quiet shame, that fear of what it means when your own body becomes difficult to care for. But here's what I need you to hear. The body doesn't stop needing care just because care becomes harder to give. Your feet still need washing even though bending down is painful. Your groin area still needs attention even though your balance isn't steady in the shower. Your skin folds still need to be dried thoroughly even though reaching them takes effort you don't always have. But the how can change. And that's what I want you to understand. Robert, who I told you about earlier, the man with arthritis who asked his son for a shower chair and a long-handled sponge. He understood this. He understood that adaptation is not defeat, that asking for tools is not giving up, that making things easier for yourself is not weakness, it's wisdom. Margaret, before I started caring for her, took the other path. She tried to keep doing everything the way she'd always done it. And when that became too hard, she started skipping. She struggled in silence. She felt ashamed. And that shame, that silence, led to infections, led to hospitalization, led to suffering that could have been prevented if someone had just told her that it's okay to need help, that it's okay to adapt, that her body changing doesn't mean she's failing. I'm telling you now what I wish someone had told Margaret sooner. What I wish someone told every senior before the complications start. You deserve care. Your body deserves attention. And if you need different tools, different techniques, different help to provide that care, that doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. It makes you someone whose body has changed over time, which is exactly what bodies do. There's no shame in that. There's only shame in the silence we've created around it. Now I want to tell you what happened with Margaret after we had that conversation in the hospital. After her daughter left that day, I sat down with Margaret and we talked honestly about what she needed. Not what she thought she should be able to do, not what she used to do, what she actually needed now, with the body she has now. We started simple. Her son bought her a shower chair, a basic one, nothing fancy. Just something stable she could sit on so she didn't have to worry about balance while she washed, and a long-handled sponge so she could reach her feet, her back, the areas that had become difficult. That's it. 2 items that cost less than $50 total. Within 3 months of establishing a proper daily hygiene routine, with these simple tools that let her maintain her dignity while being thorough, her recurring infections stopped. Completely stopped. She went from having a urinary tract infection every few weeks to having none. Her energy came back, her confidence came back. Her daughter cried with relief when Margaret made it 6 months infection-free. She said, "I can't believe something so simple made such a difference." But here's what I want you to understand. It wasn't just the tools. It was Margaret's willingness to accept that her body had changed and she deserved support. That asking for help wasn't weakness. That adaptation wasn't defeat. It was honoring where she was and giving herself what she needed to stay healthy. Let me tell you about the tools that can help. A shower chair gives you stability. It lets you sit down so you can wash your feet thoroughly. Reach between your toes, dry them properly without worrying about losing your balance. A shower chair isn't giving up. It's giving yourself the foundation to be thorough, to be safe, to take care of yourself properly. A long-handled sponge extends your reach. It helps you wash your back, under skin folds, areas that have become painful to reach. Get one with a soft sponge on the end, not a brush that might irritate your skin. And use a gentle, fragrance-free cleanser. As we age, our skin gets thinner, more sensitive. It doesn't need harsh soaps. It needs gentleness. Grab bars in the shower, give you something stable to hold on to. They help you stand safely when you need to, sit safely when you need to. They're not admitting defeat. They're preventing falls. They're protecting your independence by making sure you can shower safely without fear. Now let me walk you through a simple routine. The order doesn't matter as much as the thoroughness. But here's what works well. Start with your feet. Wash them carefully, especially between the toes. If you're sitting on a shower chair, you can lift one foot at a time, rest it on your opposite knee if that's comfortable, and really see what you're doing. Then work your way up. Wash your groin and perineal area thoroughly but gently. Wash under any skin folds, under your breasts, under your belly, anywhere skin touches skin. Wash your armpits, behind and inside your ears. And then, this is crucial, dry everything just as thoroughly as you washed it, especially those skin folds. Moisture trapped in there is where problems start. The drying matters as much as the washing. Pat yourself dry, don't rub. Take your time. Make sure those areas between your toes are completely dry. Make sure the skin under your folds is dry. If you can't reach an area to dry it well, that's when you ask for help. And there's no shame in that. Now, if you're watching this and you're realizing you need help but you don't know how to ask, here's what you can say. To a family member, to a friend, to a home health aide. I need some help staying on top of my hygiene routine. My body has changed and I want to make sure I'm taking care of myself properly. Can we talk about what would make this easier? That's it. Direct, honest, focused on your health, not your limitations. And if you're a family member watching this, wondering how to offer help without causing shame, here's what you can say. I read that as we age, some areas need extra attention to prevent infections. Can I help you set up some tools that might make your routine easier? Maybe a shower chair or a long-handled sponge? You're not saying they're failing. You're offering support for a body that's changing, which every body does. I cared for a woman. I'll call her Helen. She was 80 years old. For 2 years, she'd been struggling in the shower, holding onto the wall, trying to reach areas that had become difficult. She was exhausted every time she bathed. Then her granddaughter bought her a shower chair. Helen called me the next week and said, "I've been making this so much harder than it needed to be. I've been suffering for no reason." That's what I want you to hear. If you've been struggling, if you've been cutting corners because it's hard, if you've been risking falls because you're trying to do things the old way, you don't have to. Adaptation is not defeat. It's not giving up. It's honoring that your body has changed and it deserves the support to be cared for properly. You have permission to need help. You have permission to use tools. You have permission to make this easier. Your body is asking you for a few extra minutes of daily attention to these 5 areas. Give yourself the tools to make that possible. You're worth it. I want to bring this back to why it matters, why I'm making this video, why I need you to hear this. In my 15 years of caregiving, I have watched small daily practices prevent enormous suffering. I have watched people avoid hospitalizations, maintain their independence longer, keep their dignity intact, all because they paid attention to these 5 simple areas: your feet, your groin, your skin folds, your armpits, your ears. These areas aren't asking for much. Just a few extra minutes of your attention each day, just consistency, just the message that you still matter, that your body still deserves care. I know what you're carrying. If you're watching this as a senior yourself, I know you're afraid of becoming dependent, of losing the ability to care for yourself, of becoming a burden to the people you love. I see that fear in almost everyone I work with. And I need you to hear something. You are not a burden for having a body that needs care. You are a human being who deserves dignity and health. Your body changing doesn't make you less worthy of care. It makes you human. Every body changes. Every single one. And if you're feeling grief over what's changing, over the things that used to be easy that aren't anymore, over the independence you're worried about losing, that grief is real. It's valid. It deserves to be acknowledged, but it doesn't have to define what comes next. Because I've also witnessed something else. I've watched 80-year-olds turn their health around. I've watched people who were struggling avoid complications by making simple changes. I've watched seniors maintain independence longer, feel better in their bodies, avoid infections and hospitalizations, all because they honored these simple truths about daily care. The quiet shame you might be feeling about needing help with something as basic as washing yourself, I've seen that shame in so many faces, and I want you to know that it doesn't serve you. It only isolates you. It only keeps you from getting the support you need and deserve. Asking for help isn't weakness. Using adaptive tools isn't giving up. Making things easier for yourself isn't defeat. It's wisdom. It's honoring where you are right now and giving yourself what you need. And if you're watching this as a family member, worried about a parent or loved one, I need you to hear this too. Having this conversation with them isn't cruel. It isn't insulting their independence or treating them like a child. Ignoring the need is what costs you both. It costs you time together that could have been spent in health instead of managing complications. It costs you the closeness that comes from honest care instead of the distance that shame creates. The words I hear most often from families after they've lost someone: "I wish we had known. I wish someone had warned us. I wish we had more time. I've held too many hands at the end. I've sat with too many families processing regrets about time lost to preventable suffering. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of watching people miss the warning signs. I'm tired of watching preventable infections send people to the hospital. I'm tired of the silence around aging and bodies and the basic care we all need. That's why I make these videos. Not to scare you, not to make you feel bad about what you haven't been doing, but to give you awareness while there's still time. To tell you what I wish I could tell every family before they get that phone call, before they sit in a hospital room wondering what they missed. You still have time. Your body wants to stay strong for you. It wants to heal. It wants to serve you well for as long as possible. but it needs your attention. It needs these 5 areas to be cared for daily. It needs you to be honest about what's becoming harder and to adapt rather than skip. It needs you to ask for help when you need it and to accept help when it's offered. These 5 areas, your feet, your groin, your skin folds, your armpits, your ears, they're not asking for perfection. They're not asking for anything complicated or expensive or impossible. They're asking for consistency, for thoroughness, for a few extra minutes of daily attention, for the belief that you still matter, that your body still deserves care, that you are still worth the effort, because you are. You absolutely are. I've spent 15 years in this field because I believe the later years of life can be some of the most meaningful if we approach them with awareness and intention, if we're honest about what's changing, if we adapt instead of pretending everything's fine when it's not, if we have the courage to ask for help and the grace to accept it. Start tomorrow morning. Just start. Give these 5 areas the attention they deserve. And if you need tools to make it easier, get them. If you need help, ask for it. If you're a family member and you see someone struggling, offer support with love, not judgment. Make this easier, not harder. Make it about health and dignity, not shame. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and remember, you're not alone in this. I see you, I believe in you, and I'll be here, sharing what I've learned for as long as you need it. I'll see you in the next one.